Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another Heroes Premier League Team Curse post-game show, brought to you by, of course, Team Curse. From Team Curse, we've got Sneaky and Fury, and Sneaky's popping out of the box there. There we go. And we've also got with us today, we'll jump it over here, we've got BKB from SK Gaming, the recently picked up SK Gaming, formerly Quality Control. I bet you guys, how excited are you guys to be picked up by a gaming organization? Not only a gaming organization, but one of the most celebrated and decorated gaming organizations.
Yeah, first of all, hello and thank you for having me. It was really kind of sudden. We tried to establish contact and we succeeded in it. We stayed in touch, and I was actually playing for Team Empire at that point. And then I realized that I want to stay with the team, and we had a chance to be in SK Gaming, and we were really, really glad to join them. I think like the manager of SK Gaming is glad, of course, to have us. He was really happy, and it's really hard to describe because at the moment, like the game is, it's obviously in alpha, and it doesn't still feel that we can do as much as we could for SK Gaming, but of course it feels amazing to be in such a huge organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, you talked about the game still being in alpha and things like that, but moving into this last week, this dead week that we've had, which has kind of thrown a wrench into a lot of people's plans. But in terms of the game itself, it's a fantastic thing because whenever we get back from this tomorrow, actually, for the American side of things, the European side, I guess, isn't going to be having it until November the 9th, or October the 9th, rather. Which I'm not sure what the point of that is. I don't know what the internals are with Blizzard as to why there's some delay between certain regions getting it before others. I don't know what's going on with that. But what I will say is that we are getting a lot of really cool features coming in that we should have honestly had throughout the entirety of the alpha. I mean, these are some pretty core things for a competitive game that even if they're not saying we want to be a competitive game, but you've got to have it if you want that opportunity and that chance. And of course is replay and spectator control. I don't think spectators coming in right now, but they're very quickly working towards it. But the big thing is that we're going to have custom games. We're going to have the ability to choose the maps. We're going to have the ability to play the teams when we want to and be able to set that up without having to manipulate or without having to go through and hope that you get matched up via the matchmaking system. So how has your team all come together and looking at this, what's your plan going into all of this? How does your mindset changed now that tournaments and leagues are going to be set up much more standard, in a much more tournament standard situation where you have best of threes and you have the ability to choose the maps, bring in map bans and map picks and things like that. What's going on with you and your team in that regard, that aspect?
Well, first of all, like, actually, you could always, for example, if we screen mine Sanity, it was insta queue, like, we didn't have any problems. But of course, the most important thing is the map bans, and of course, you have the map pick. That's what we're the most looking forward, because, like, to be honest, there's sometimes really actually huge advantage for the maps. And of course, it's mostly because of Brightwing and Falstad, because of course of their mount abilities.
The
And,
Z ability?
yeah, the Z ability, not Mount Z. Yeah, and also, for example, Haunted Mines. Like usually, the teams win which pick the most strongest heroes in early game because it's all about the early game and mines. And it's really like our team is really glad to finally have a custom games with map bans and map picks. But yeah, of course, the draft mode for the heroes, it's still the same. But we're really looking forward. There will be hopefully a lot of tournaments, new leagues, and we are just gonna prepare even more than we did prepare for HPL.
So you mentioned, and we'll kind of bring this into some of the games that happened today. You mentioned that on Haunted Mines, it kind of comes down to whichever team has that better lineup for the early game damage. We had Team Nexus Champ take on, I believe it was Glorious Gaming on Haunted Mines. And in the beginning of that matchup, we saw that NXC was doing really, really well. They were managed to be able to pick off a couple of heroes very early on and secure a couple of really early game kills. And they were looking like they were hanging in there and that they were going to be able to take it. And then the mines opened up, and the teams went down into the mines, and then they got destroyed. And there was just no way to come back from that. And that's one of the we were actually talking. The administrators of the league were talking with the teams and the players about this. There's a point where we were considering banning Haunted Mines as a whole from tournament play. Like, if you got matched up in the queue and it was Haunted Mines, it just didn't count. Like, it was banned. It was gone. There was the vote, I think, went something 69, almost 70% of all players and teams wanted Haunted Mines just completely gone from the pool. And this is after the changes they had made. It got worse. For the competitive side of things, it got worse in terms of balancing. It was basically came down to, the consensus was whoever won the first team fight in the mines won the game 90% of the time. Go ahead.
Yeah, like, I think now when, like, teams can actually they're gonna know that it's gonna be Haunted Mines, and they can have actually proper picks for the map. It might be a little bit different. And for example, I can say for our team, we still have made comebacks, even though they got, you know, like 90 skull golem. But yeah, like, that map is just too snowbally. Like, you can kind of compare it to Blackhearts as well, but Blackhearts is a little bit more balanced. But yeah, it's something else. But I never actually considered that actually it should or could be banned in leagues and tournaments at the moment, while it's just that unbalanced. Because people usually blame the map if they lose, because it's just too snowbally, you know.
Well, but that's a good point, but there comes a point where people who were winning on those maps, like, it was actually after the NXT Glorious game, ZPs came to me, it's like, we should have a discussion on whether or not to ban this map, and Glorious was the winner of that map. He's just like, and so we had brought it up, it was a discussion, and it was, a good portion of players and teams agreed that, yeah, it's an imbalanced map, and it's way too snowbally in its current form, and it's really, really difficult for even the best of teams to come back from a loss, a first team fight loss in the Haunted Mines.
Like I mentioned.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I think like that you actually know the map, and you can actually maybe take picks which maybe are like mid game spike, or, you know, like early mid game spike, so you actually can make a comeback. But like, it still doesn't change the fact that the map is too snowbally. And,
right.
Yeah, I would actually agree, and I think my team would also agree to have Haunted Mines as a perma ban.
Well, of course, when we come back in week 4 of HPL, you'll all have that option. Each team will get a map ban.
Yeah, exactly.
And the 3 remaining maps will be the map pool for the best of 3 series to follow. With that being said, and you made a point of drafting, and you can draft around Haunted Mines and draft to win Haunted Mines, but the way that the current system was set up, you couldn't just draft for Haunted Mines. You couldn't draft for worst case scenario, because drafting really well for Haunted Mines, and we've seen teams do it, draft really well for Haunted Mines, and then they end up on Dragonshire, and then the comp that you're running is completely useless and screwed. So, and we saw NXT did draft for a more mid to late game composition, and then they of course are going to get steamrolled in the beginning of that match, which of course is what happened, which is what we saw. So, Curse, Fury, Sneaky, what do you guys think about that situation? You guys obviously aren't playing in HPL, so you weren't a part of that discussion, but if you were, what do you guys think would be the consensus on the Curse side of things there?
I agree. The map way too snowbally. We've only had one game since the new change that actually went to 40 minutes, which, you know, just 2 equally balanced teams. But other than that, yeah, it's just whoever gets the 100 skull first, they're gonna end up winning the game. And I'm definitely all for having that kind of banned in its current state.
Yeah, I definitely agree. As of now, ban this map for now because it's just way too snowbally. And if you compare the map now to how it was before, where people wouldn't go and get the skulls so quickly because it was too big, they would instead get the camps and then push at the camps to, try to get both forts down.
Yeah, and then of course run back and defend against the
Yep.
golem that came up, because at that point the golem didn't really do much. Level 100 or 100 skull golem at level 4 or level 5, whenever the mines first opened up, it didn't do enough damage to really constitute going in and focusing solely on getting that. But now you have the situation where Blizzard was looking at that, and what I imagine was going on in their mind was, we need to find some way to get these people to go into the mine. We need to find some way to get these people to focus on the objective. We saw that with Garden of Terror as well, where they no longer allow you to hoard seeds. Once you get 100 seeds, you have 1 minute to use those seeds or you lose them. So Blizzard is saying, we want everyone focused on the map objective, which personally I don't think is a great design. Like, it's cool that you have the objectives, but if people find a way to do something else, or they find a way to manipulate the objective in a certain way, let them do it. Don't force them to play the map exactly as you want it. I think that's going to get stale and boring really quickly, especially when we only have the 5 map pools. So I like the ability to have different things happening on the same map. People having different strategies as to whether or not they go into the mines first, or they go for the mercenaries first, or if they take an early golem, or they hoard up to 200 seeds so they can take one golem and then take, a defensive golem later, allowing you to have both an offensive and a defensive golem, or night terror, whatever you want to call it. But now you can't really have that situation. So, but BKB, what's your gaming history, man? What's your MOBA history?
Well, yeah, you can't call Bloodline Champions as a MOBA, but that was like a arena PvP, and I played it. There comes, I guess, my mechanic skills, and I played it at top level. And actually, I got there some contact with SK Gaming because I was playing with SK Gaming players for Bloodline Champions. It's kind of actually a known game, and it has died. Then I played Dota 2 at semi-professional level. I played some local tournaments and subbed for some teams. And yeah, like I also tried all different kinds of MOBAs. Probably I'm actually one of the most inexperienced players in our team, because other guys are like challenger players from League. One guy played the LCS for against all authority 2 years ago, I think. And some guys was at one of the, if not, I think it was the best hunt team at some point. And yeah, but my gaming history isn't that big.
What team was he? From Han. Han is the game I came from, so I would know this.
Give me a second. I'll check the name. We got the interview on one website. Give me a second. And yeah, and other guy is also has some Dota 2 experience, a little bit bigger than mine. But yeah, I'm probably the most inexperienced guy in the team. But I'm still, my work is I'm a shot caller for the team, and I'm playing mostly supports and tanks. So I mean, I think I'm doing my job, and yeah, like, and of course, like, I have to say, like, the game individually, it's really skill capped. It's comparing to Dota 2, like, all the heroes are easy. It all comes in the end in the team fights and rotations. How you rotate, how you invade their jungle, when you go for your own mercs, it's the most important thing. And then of course team fights, your positioning, your focus and stuff like that. Because individual hero skill cap, in my opinion, and not only my opinion, my team's opinion, is that it's really low, to be honest. Of course, actually the rewind makes it more harder, like more mechanic skill based, but yeah, like for example Ultra, they took it off.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you're saying that it's really easy to get into the competitive scene, like it's not a hard scene to break into at this point. So for these new invites that are going to be getting into the game once Blizzard comes back, it's gonna be, we might see a couple of fresh faces and new teams pop up.
Exactly. That's what I'm actually like probably when I would say 3 months, maybe give it a later, there will be people like the same from League Challenger, like maybe some like semi or pro Dota 2 players, ex Dota 2 pro players, like, and you actually don't need such a skill level people from other games because, like I mentioned, the skill cap for heroes is kind of low.
Yeah.
In the end, it comes all to team synergy, like I said, team fights and rotation. And I really don't know how the Heroes of the Storm is going to be in future, because if teams just, if there's a team and it plays together for 1 year and they're all decent guys individually, then there will be like, I don't think there will be actually one top team. Like there will be, I mean, there's never a one best team in a game, for example, League of Legends or Dota 2. But in this game, I think it's going to be really like gimmicky. There will be maybe like top 5 teams which are going to share the first places, the second and third places. And will all come to the right team fight, and I guess just rotations. So like you said, that I think people can easily try the competitive scene in HOTS, try to build a team, get players together, and just play and get some good team fights and rotations.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So did we find out the Han team that he played
Oh,
for?
actually, no. It wasn't Han team, but Prime World team. Prime World.
Ah, okay.
That's yeah. If you have heard about that MOBA, it's also not that famous. Yeah, he wasn't. He had like 2,000 MMR in Han. He played for some top teams, I guess. He subbed, but it says that he played in the best Prime World team.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that was my bad. I don't know a lot about my teammates, sadly.
Yeah, and then Heroes of Newerth for a really long time, I would say for probably the span of 18 months to 2 years, there was that one top team that no one could beat. They were unbeaten for so long, and that was Fnatic, who were actually the same group of people that play for Fnatic and Dota 2 were the Fnatic team in Heroes of Newerth, and they went undefeated for literally 18 months to almost 2 years. It was pretty crazy. And now they're in Dota 2, and they're sort of a middle tier team. They're still really good. They still make it to the international every year, but
But Koreans, man.
yeah, Korea. There you go. Koreans and
really
Russians. Dota 2 is that's their game.
Yeah, but
And the
I'm
Chinese.
Really looking,
Yeah, Chinese.
looking forward to Koreans in Heroes of the Storm. But there are 2 teams, and I don't think they're that great. But there are some ex-pro StarCraft 2 players, like 2 or 3 in one of the Korean team.
In Heroes, Team No Limit is the one that has
exactly.
the StarCraft players.
Yeah, exactly, that's the one. But we'll see, like, I mean, Koreans are always the best. But then again, it doesn't come right, like I mentioned, in my opinion, and other people's opinion, that it doesn't come in the individual skill play. And they're always been, the ones with the sickest mechanics. But,
We'll have to see how it plays out. Of course, Heroes is soft region locked. It's not... You have the ability to play on the other regions, but all of your purchases, heroes, and things like that are all on their separate sort of thing. So while you... I know that MYI talked about they want to try and set up to be able to play both US and EU. Things like that. Does SK have that sort of same game plan? Are you guys going to stick solely to the EU servers? You're going to mix it up, try and play in Asia, try and play in North America?
Well, basically why they're doing that is I can tell you is because of the upcoming tournament for
NACL?
Yeah, and it's a really huge prize pool, and I mean, we're still considering what to do, but like my Insanity has 2 American players, which is Shinobu and Aragi, and I mean, yeah, like they have more reason to participate, I guess, but yeah, we're gonna still consider doing that because I guess it is the first major tournament with a huge prize pool, and we're gonna most likely participate. And yeah, we're of course, like when it comes to a practice, and we will probably most likely try to play in each server to scrim and each top team and just get some knowledge about the team, and just to compare ourselves to them. So we're prepared for the maybe LAN events, international LAN events.
Right on, right on. Do you know offhand when you play MYI in HPL?
Yeah, I do. It's not next week. Next week we're playing versus Vega Squadron. After the next week we're playing My Insanity.
Week 5.
Yeah, week 5. And you can look forward. Wait, yeah. By the way, Pride, a question. So what happens in the end about Asmodan and Anabarak? Do both teams decide, or it's still banned?
They are banned. They are globally banned in week 4.
In week 4 only. Okay, yeah. So yeah, because me and our team agreed with My Insanity that we're gonna use both of those new heroes, so people can look forward to some Asmodan and Anabarak.
There you go.
Action. But yeah, seriously, what Blizzard thought when they made such a kit for Anabarak with Rewind, and I don't know, it's really kind of sick.
That's true. Heroes Nexus came out with the patch notes today, and Nubarak has Rewind.
It's so sick. Stun, range stun, which you can the borrow charge. It's for 1.25. You have Rewind. Then you have the Impale, which is also stun, and you have also Rewind for that. And he has a ultimate, which is also CC. So you basically make a tank, which is tanky, which has a shield with 4 stuns and 1 CC ultimate skill.
And I think at level 20 it becomes AoE CC instead of a single target. So that's shut down an entire team really quickly. Twice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be perm banned each game, because yeah.
But you guys are calling it right now. You're not banning those 2. You're picking them up.
Yeah. We'll
nice.
try. We'll try to make it
nice.
fun. We'll agree on some stuff. But I guess the one who gets Anabarak wins.
Very nice, very nice. Well, any last shout-outs or anything like that from you before myself and the Curse guys talk about these games that happened today?
Yeah, the games were good, first of all, and I want to thank you, HPL, and the whole organization, league, and people who are trying to help the esport community grow. You're doing really great job. Everyone's glad about it. I want to make a shout out for, of course, SK Gaming, their sponsors, Median, Intel, ASRock, HyperX, and Game, and Big Ben, and Inwin, and Myonex, and yeah, to my old teammates, and I guess that's it.
All right, well, thank you for coming on to the Team Curse post-game show.
Thanks for having me again.
Good luck in the rest of rest of HPL. I'm so used to hearing forecourt Sean say the HPL that now I'm saying the HPL.
Yeah, it makes a kind of a good touch in it.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you for stopping by, man, and good luck in the future of HPL and NACL and anything else that you guys are participating in. Are you guys doing King of the Storm #2? Or is that...
Well,
that's NA only, yeah, NA only. You guys, you Europeans, man, I tell you what, I'm gonna set it up. We're gonna do an EU tournament like that for the EU guys.
Yeah.
We'll
if you
do it.
need any help, there isn't many leagues and tournaments. If you need any help from the teams, like my team, just ask for a help, and we can help you get teams and set up some things as well. We're just glad we'll be glad to help the esport community grow.
There you go. Yeah. All right, man. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you as well. Take care, guys.
Yep. Take it easy.
See ya.
All right, so let me fix these cameras real quick. Sorry about that. Actually, they are just fine as they are for now. All right, so let's talk about these games today. Number one, again, thank you to BKB for coming on to the show, and SK Gaming and their infinite list of sponsors. So, how were the games today, guys? What were your thoughts overall with how HPL played? Not only today, but we didn't have a post-game show for day one, just due to how late it ran. It was unfortunately delayed by about 2 hours, do some technical stuff, so we weren't able to pick up and do a post-game show that day. But how were the games this week? What stood out to you guys in terms of play styles and bans, picks, anything? What stood out?
Sorry, I'll go. Today, I enjoyed the last game, obviously, because it was both teams wanted to rush the core. Both cores are really like under 5% health. But what really stood out for that game was the Lily pickup for Clairvoyant.
We saw in that Clairvoyant versus 2ARC game, we saw it was sort of like a base race, but it was like you have this much time to do it and get it done, and then you'll all die, and then we'll have our shots. It was like an attack and defend sort of situation where Clairvoyant was down, so 2ARC took the opportunity and rushed the core, got it down to 3% before they got wiped out. 3%, just a couple of more hits from any of those guys, and they would have had that. They would have won that match and had a huge upset versus Clairvoyant. So what Clairvoyant does, of course, they respond. They pick up a couple of mercs. They want to get in there, try and get a good solid push. Get to a point where they've got about 20 seconds before the core of the team respawns. The core players on the team respawn, and so they rush the core and get it down at the very last second. I think there was one hero still up right there at the very end, maybe two. One was definitely about to go down for sure. And that one, I think it was, I don't remember the exact hero.
I believe there was Uther Ghost as well.
Yeah, Uther Ghost, yeah. So that was actually a really cool moment. The chat was going crazy right as that happened. They were like, wait a second, what just happened? Did that really just happen? 3% for Clairvoyant. By far the closest game we've had in HPL so far. And of course, and I just want to mention, because a lot of people have been talking about, here's Premier League, there's only X amount of teams that are this good, how can you have 12 American teams? That was number 3 versus number 10 in the rankings right now. Not including in the community rankings that we actually did on NexusChamp.com, where we polled various members of the community, including other league administrators, other website administrators. Forecourt Jester's a voter. A couple of team managers are voters as well. ESV Diamond, who runs the ECS league, he was a voter as well. And Clairvoyant, I believe, was number 3 or number 4, somewhere very close in that situation. And 2ARC was sort of in that general area as well. So the rankings in HPL are very, very similar to the overall global rankings within, the minds of the community. And that was number 10 versus number 3. So the people that say there's no real depth to the competitive scene, I present you 3% was the difference between number 3 and number 10.
And I'd like to just point out too, BKB said it all comes down to, teams and how well they work together. I mean, you can consider a team, oh, hey, they're in 10th place, they're going to lose against the 3rd place team. It takes one team fight late game, and, they're going to win it. So you really can't count anyone out.
Right. And I believe it was Kevin Nocky, the caster today, he said, going back to that whole 3% thing and things like that 2ARC is now 0-3. So they've lost their first 3 matches within HPL. But that really does not signify how good of a team they really are. And I think that they showed that to everyone today in that match versus Clairvoyance. Because again, and I will continue to stress that, 3% is the difference. Is the difference that we saw today between the number 3 ranked team and the number 10 ranked team. So an unbeaten, now 3-0 versus 0-3, 3%. And the number 3 is making a lot of appearances today. I don't know what's going on with that. So anything else stand out to you guys today with any of these matches?
Yeah, for me, it was actually the Prism and Vega Squadron game.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them, looking for their first win, I believe.
Yes.
And, a couple things with that game. I think Prism, they did a lot of things right in their team fights. There was that, 5-man Syndragosa they got on top lane, which just, that, in my opinion, won them that team fight. Vega wasn't able to move from that. They did a really good job. But for me, that was an interesting one to watch because it's kind of like you said with Tuark. They might be near the bottom of the league, but in a league format, I mean, you never know. By the end of the league, they could be up near the top.
Oh,
They just need to go back, look at these games, kind of see where they went wrong, improve, and they can come back next week, stronger than ever. So it's going to be really interesting to see, these like bottom seed teams kind of improve over time. It's going to be really good.
Absolutely, and not to mention that I mean we're only at week 3. We still have 4 more weeks of regular season play to go through. So no team is out yet. It is entirely possible for every single team within the league to still make it to the number 1 spot. They've got 4 weeks, and you're talking about 3 points per match. That's 12 points right there. I believe that's how many you need to clinch a bid into the postseason. So you need to win at least 4 of your 7 matches in the North American side. On the EU side, it's a bit different because there are only 8 teams versus 12 teams. And that's not to say that a 3 and 4 team wouldn't make it to the postseason, but to guarantee it, you would have to be at least 4 and 3. So it is entirely possible for all of these teams to still make it into that postseason for sure. So we already talked a lot about the NXC game and all that stuff, so I don't think we need to go into that. The other game was Resurgence versus ESV Wildfire. Now ESV Wildfire, we just had the ECS Championship Series, or ESV Championship Series, ECS, where Wildfire, I believe, was in the semifinals for that and dropped to, I want to say, Snowflake. I could be wrong on that. I haven't had a chance to follow it 100%. But we saw ESV Wildfire take on Resurgence, and what did you guys think about that particular matchup? I mean, from my perspective, it was very kind of a general, like, there wasn't anything that really stood out to me. I think it all kind of went how everyone thought it was kind of supposed to go, if that makes sense. What do you guys think?
Well, I think Wildfire did really good with their drafting phase. They picked up Uther, it's always a solid pick, and then the early Diablo pick was really nice because their last pick, they ended up picking the Zebo, which everyone knows Diablo's a good counter to the Zebo. And also want to point out they had Wildfire had a really good engage and disengage, re-engage comp, so they can run, then they can just turn around, pop all their ults, and blow up people. While also on the Resurgence team, they didn't have much to really stop on the Zebo ult.
For sure. All they had was that Tychus with his grenade to stop that, and we saw a couple of opportunities where they wouldn't let him through. They wouldn't let Tychus get close enough to drop the grenade to let him to stop the ult. What about you, Sneaky? Anything stick out to you at all from that particular matchup?
It's like you said, just from the drafting phase, I think it was kind of pretty clear how the match was gonna go, and yeah, it was kind of expected.
Yeah, it just seemed like a really sort of just game that went how the game looked like it was gonna go from start to finish. I'll definitely be looking forward to see Resurgence maybe come through and do something a little off the wall next time. Maybe throw a wrench into someone's plans. Of course, going into week 4, we're moving into that best of 3 format, so teams are going to have a little bit more leeway, a little bit more of an ability to kind of go in and play around with something. See if they can, pull an upset here or there and just surprise the other team in some way.
I would like to point out for that game, Resurgence, the Abathur pick really helped their team stay in the game.
Yes.
You had Abathur split pushing, you had him pushing, keeping XP up for your team.
For sure. Now I know that week 1 or day 1 games aren't as fresh in our minds. I can tell you right now, I don't remember anything that happened during week 3 day one, but so I don't think there was anything too significant. There was an Illidan pickup, which made some people happy, so that was fun. But outside of that, I can't really think of anything that happened in day one that was really significant in any way. We didn't have any major upsets. We didn't have any. I think it was a pretty standard day overall. Well, I will say we did have an upset. Technical difficulties upset the HPL broadcast that day. Like we said, we started 2 hours late, and I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, technical things are going to be technical. You know, problems are going to come up and things like that. And we apologized and all that good stuff. We still had a damn good day of broadcasting, and I think overall the games were solid and the casting was solid as well. So, very entertaining day for sure. But overall, I think week 3 was sort of the calm before the storm, because once we get into next week, we start having teams that are unbeaten. They're going to be going up against each other. The number of unbeaten teams is going to decrease dramatically. As a matter of fact, there can only be 2 unbeaten teams due to the divisional split up between there's 6. The way that it's set up is a little bit different than most leagues. Most leagues have a set number of teams, and they, split them up either into 2 groups, and then those 2 groups play everyone from that group, and then they come together and have that tournament at the end where the groups are sort of put together to determine the championship, or to determine the champion. Well, in HPL we have 6 teams in 2 divisions, 12 teams total. But we had to kind of stick to our original schedule that we had before the 4-team expansion, when we had the 8 teams. So we only had 7 weeks to do this. So if we split them up into 2 groups of 6, then that would only be 5 matches. So you have 2 weeks absent. So what we did was we basically randomized it, and every team had to play 2 teams from the other conference. So sort of like the way college football does things, where they have out-of-conference games, where you play your conference and you play everyone in your conference. You also schedule certain out-of-conference games with random teams throughout the United States and other colleges and things like that. So we kind of took that approach to it. But what happens, or what comes into that, is you can only have 2 undefeated teams by the end of the season. So, with there currently being 4 undefeated teams on each side, we're looking at a situation where we're going to start having what we like to call Chaos Week, which is where teams are getting upset, teams are no longer being undefeated. Someone has got to lose eventually, for sure. So, and this is sort of that area where we're getting into, the middle area, where the higher ranked seeds are starting to play each other, and the lower ranked seeds are starting to play each other. Because originally, whenever we start out, we have it set up to where the lower ranked teams play the higher ranked teams, and then the roles kind of reverse as we go up and down the list. So we're sort of starting to get into weeks 3, 4, and 5, where they start to converge, and you start seeing, the number 1 seed taking on the number 2 seed, and the number 3 taking on the number 4, things like that. So I'm super excited for the next 2 weeks, especially weeks 4 and 5, like we had with the EU side, where SK Gaming and MYI, the 2 undefeated teams left in the EU side, they're going to be going up against each other in week 5. So that's going to leave you with 1 undefeated team in week 5 if both of those teams survive week 4 undefeated. So I am super, super excited about what the future is going to hold here at HPL. We have some of the best matches of the regular season coming up in weeks 4, 5, and 6. And then, of course, week 7 we'll start being able. We'll finally be able to nail down who's going to be going into that championship series at the end, moving into the grand finals on November the 26th. That's the other thing. That's one last thing I want to talk to you guys about. This is a long league. This is a 3-month league. We started this on September the 18th was the first broadcast. And originally it was set to end on November the 21st, but due to the week-long shutdown, we had to kind of tweak the schedule a bit, and now we're going to be ending it on November the 26th. Do you guys think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Do you guys like the league format that's kind of extended on throughout, or do you like the, weekend tournament event?
It's actually something we've talked about in our team a lot, and league format is just, it's so much better. You have these teams play, 2-3 games a week at most. It's much better than trying to get them all to just play like 5, 6, 7 games in a weekend, or like, in a day.
Yeah.
So that's much better. You always have content every week, matches going on. It's really great for viewers. They don't have to kind of wait, maybe a monthly tournament here, there. So it's going to be really good. And I definitely think, just to kind of touch upon how you were saying, these top teams who are undefeated going to be playing each other, with, of course, the custom games and stuff, these matches are hopefully going to become so much better.
Oh, yeah.
People are going to have those map bans. They're going to be able to draft for specific maps. So you're going to have these undefeated teams playing each other, but you're also going to get to see, all right, what kind of tricks do they have up their sleeves? What kind of pocket strats do these teams have to stay on top?
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. And we're giving them this 2-week period to figure all that stuff out before we come back to HPL play. So hopefully they make the most of it and they come up with some really interesting tactics, some really interesting compositions and lineups for various maps. But yeah, I personally have always kind of preferred the league situation. I think that in tournaments sometimes you have flukes, you have mistakes that happen. I've seen numerous times. I used to run a lot of tournaments for Heroes of Newerth, and I had seen several times where a number 3 or number 4 ranked team, out of nowhere, a player gets sick or a player has a family emergency, and they bring in a sub or something, and yeah, they're good, but they're not. It's not an optimal situation. And whenever you come in and you play this team, you're not 100%. You're a little confused about what's going on. You're like, is this guy going to be able to pull this off the way that we need him to? Things like that. And sometimes a fluke happens, and a number 3 team ends up getting beat by a 30 or 40 seeded team out of nowhere, and then you have a very lopsided sort of rest of the tournament for that particular lineage of games. So
yeah, it's actually it's something we talked about the first week of the HPL, how if these teams, they lose, they don't perform as well, something happens, they have time to catch up and come back.
For sure, we actually had that discussion on the show about the whether it's good to lose early or late in the season.
Yep.
I remember that. I was deathly sick at the time, but I remember it. So yeah, I definitely am super excited about the future of HPL, and the best is yet to come in terms of the games. And of course, after all that, we have the end of the postseason, when the top 8 North American teams and the top 4 European teams all come together. And BlizzCon is also coming up as well, and we still don't know. We've heard rumors, they've been around, as to what might be happening in terms of a Heroes tournament or show matches going on at BlizzCon for Heroes of the Storm, but nothing has been confirmed quite yet from Blizzard, so hopefully we'll get an answer on that. I know I'll be there. Will Curse be making an appearance at BlizzCon this year?
Yeah, you'll see some of us there, for sure.
Definitely, for sure. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for us today on the Heroes Premier League Team Curse post-game show. I want to shout out to Team Curse today, because these guys, they were ready to go for day 1, and then unfortunately, just due to the difficulties and everything, it was just we can't do it today. So we'll come back. We'll do it. Do one for both of them on day 2. But shout out to you guys for coming on each week and talking Heroes Esports with me.
Yep, not a problem. Glad to be here.
So where can they find you guys? Where can they find Team Curse? And who are those lovely, lovely sponsors that support you guys in Team Curse?
Right.
Okay. Do you want? I'll go here.
Yeah,
So you can follow me, Twitter, Facebook, CRS Sneaky. Before the sponsors, I'd like to give a shout out to our casters today. Those guys, some hiccups, but they always do a great job. I've had the pleasure of working with Jester in the past on previous kind of tournament. And he's a really great guy. And Kevin Naki, I mean, just a legendary caster
Brilliant.
in my opinion.
Brilliant.
Yes, it's so good. And then of course, Nexus Champ for hosting the HPL. It's great. Can't wait for even more. And then shout out to Team Curse. They're all really great guys, and their sponsors: Cooler Master, Alienware, Azubu, Astro, and Loot Crate. Those guys definitely, we wouldn't be here without them.
For sure. Where can they find you, Fury?
Alright, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter at CRS Fury. And definitely give shout outs to the HPL, everybody that's working with the HPL. Get a shout out to Team Curse, and then Team Curse's sponsors: Cooler Master, Alienware, Azubu, Astro, and a Loot Crate.
For sure. Can I point out that Cooler Master has the coolest, most masterful name for a product ever? They really do.
Yeah,
They really do.
Yeah, really
All right,
nice
guys.
stuff too.
Thank you all. We'll see you all next week. Goodbye.
Yep, see ya.